Also, Mr. Aman Gupta just went to the US. He represented the Indian sharks at a global shark ecosystem. So he's very active in the entrepreneurial community apart from building boAt. He's very active in supporting the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Please give Mr. Aman Gupta a big round of applause. He should feel welcome.
This was, वो स्कूल में नहीं होता था एक्सटेम्पोर स्पीच देनी पड़ती थी, वैसा वाला लग रहा है. So guys, good to see you all. My name is Aman Gupta. I'm the co-founder and CMO of boAt. I haven't prepared, so I'll just talk about my life story. We started boAt in 2016, and touch wood, God has been kind. Today, we sell. We started off with cables and chargers, and then we started selling audio products, and now we sell watches also. So that's been our journey. We've grown well. First year, it has been a 6-year journey. We start 2016. We did around 7 crores as our top line, and yeah, scale is important, unfortunately or fortunately. Then we did 30 crores in the second year. This third year we did around 100. Then we did 700. Then last year, last year we did 2000, and this year we closed at 4,000 crores. So God has been kind in terms of sales also. We've been profitable mostly every year except last year, and it's so unfortunate that now the whole world is looking at profits, and we went for a small loss. It was mostly our DNA is profitability. It's like 1 quarter, what do you call it? 1 quarter down we had, mostly because we were investing a lot in Make in India, and Make in India has been our big journey. Last year, if I tell you, before COVID, around 2020, we had 100% we used to import from outside India, but this year we have around 70 to 75% we made in India, and that's a big commitment we've made to ourselves, and even to the government, who's been very supportive in helping us make in India. And also, it's been a big change when in terms of consumers, because when we started, there were not even any brands from India. People were not trusting Indian brands, and suddenly people, when we started, there was nothing known as D2C. D2C, as I always say, used to be buses in Delhi, but nothing more than that. D2C कुछ नहीं होता था. अब D2C भी emerge हो गया. It's getting an industry status as we go, and we were called by a lot of different names. We used to be called online brands, then we used to be called Amazon brands, and slowly, how the industry was evolving. It's becoming like from D2C to online to D2C to now omni-channel. So if you look at where we started, we were a brand born in India, and then consumers started asking that, boss, आप Indian brand हो लेकिन माल तो आपका बाहर बनता है, types, right? Then that's a big change which is happening in India, that we all are loving Make in India as one of our big themes for a lot of brands. So yeah, we are on that journey, and what else? और क्या बोलते हैं Keynote में, sir? It's we love India, right? India loves us, and I was a part of Prime Minister Modi's delegation to France, and the best part was there were a lot of people on that dais, wo ek table hoti hai jisme sab log बैठते हैं, and I was very honored and I was very happy that I was invited. But when I went there, I was like with all the big guys sitting there, and people were like, some people had factories who were had 6 factories in Europe, and there was another guy who was sitting, was the Airbus chairman, and then there was the Mr. Rahul Bhatia, who was the chairman of Indigo. So I was sitting with all these big guys, right, who've got like big industries. Some had 6 generations into business, and there was this one startup founder, which was me, who was only 6 years into existence, right? And everybody was giving their speech, and when they were giving their speech, they all spoke about how how in the past they've done, Europe has helped them, or India has helped Europe, and how they've been growing. and I was like, boss, that I'm so lucky to be here, and I'm representing the new India, which has very high aspirations. And if you look at people like us, we don't want to stop here now, right? When I was there, I was like, we all love French brands, and it's high time that people outside India start loving Indian brands. So that's what my dream is. That when I used to go outside, I used to see, जैसे इंडिया में भी होता है ना, वो एप्पल स्टोर होते हैं और एप्पल स्टोर के बाद लाइन लगी होती है. सो माय ड्रीम इज कि किसी दिन बोट के स्टोर इंडिया के बाहर हो और फिरंगी हमारे स्टोर के बाहर लाइन लगाए. Sir.
Thank you. And I was
hoping to keep the, that's, they used to call it American dream. We are a part of the Indian dream now.
Fantastic. Come, Mr. Gupta. It is also my honor and privilege because I take pride in growth of Indian businesses and boAt's growth. boAt is now the world's number 2 brand in wearables. The world's number 2 brand, right?
Yes, sir. I also say A for Apple, B for boAt. So B is we are now the second largest. I'm happy to and I always say कि हमारी population इतनी ज़्यादा है कि हम बिना इंडिया में बेच के second largest बन गए, right? अभी तो बाहर जाना बाकी है.
Absolutely, and I must tell you that, of course, 3 years back he on a Diwali sent me his products, and I have young children, her teenagers, and they are very choosy about what product, what brand they wear, and they are a little spoiled in the sense for choice. Otherwise, they're very well mannered. And I said boAt, and whatever gift comes, the children look at it and they have a point of view, yeah, right? And I said boAt. He said, yeah, we'll wear boAt. So I told him that. I met him 10 to 15 days after that, and I told him that's a huge consumer validation, and I'm talking of first hand, seeing my children respond to it. So clearly, he's got the products right, he's got the brand right, he's got the story right. Aman, we've been talking throughout the day about what has changed in the environment in terms of funding, how have the Indian entrepreneurs rewired them to change themselves through the funding winter, if you may call. तो आपके हिसाब से क्या चेंज हुआ है पिछले 6-8 महीने में, and how should Indian entrepreneurs really rewire? They're resilient, they're doing well, but what is your advice to them?
Sir, I think if I see there is still a lot of money in the market. I think good entrepreneurs are still getting money, but free money time is over, is what I would say. 2020 everything was getting funded. 21 जो भी आ रहा था मार्केट में उसे फंडिंग मिल रही थी. I think those days are over, and only the right businesses which have the right probably unit economics, the right scale factors will get funded, and route to profitability is become like the biggest. If you look at all these consolidators जो आए थे ना, बहुत सारे some were SoftBank funded, some were I think India में भी बहुत सारे funded थे. तो ये जो आए थे ना सारे, ये क्या नाम है उनका, गोट वेंचर्स और कौन सा था एक वो
एमडीआई का दोस्त है गोट वाला.
हाँ, अच्छे लोग हैं, मतलब आई लाइक देम ऑल. मैं मना नहीं कर रहा, मेरे भी दोस्त हैं. और कौन सा था वो जो बेसीबी, अपस्केलियो, हाँ, ग्लोबल ब्रांड्स एंड ऑल दैट, राइट, ग्लोबल बीज. So I think they were all, there was a time of house of brands which started emerging 2 years back, and look at where Thrasio is. They just filed for bankruptcy. So
the Thrasio model, people would come for pitches and they say, we have the Thrasio model.
Correct.
In every business.
Yeah. So I think those days are over, sir. It's about building through fundamentals of business. Back to dhanda. जैसे वो एक गुरु पिक्चर में नहीं कहता कि सामान इतने का खरीदो, बीच में मुनाफा, right? It's all about profitability now. If you look at even the Zomatos and Paytms who went public, they were valued at crazy multiples, and when they went public, we all know what happened to them. And as soon as they delivered profit, we know now how they are doing well, right? So it's, even if you look at Mamaearth, when they went public, they were 30%, they are 30% up as soon as they delivered a first quarter of profit. So I think it's all about profits, and it's all about EBITDAs rather than revenue, chasing the revenue multiples.
So boAt का IPO कब आएगा?
बोट का IPO सर अभी नेक्स्ट ईयर, आई होप. ये जो अभी क्या हो रहा है ना, अगर अभी हमने IPO फाइल कर दिया होता, वो कहता है ना, बहती गंगा में हम भी हाथ धो लेते, राइट? अभी तो हर चीज इज गोइंग वेल, लुकिंग एट द IPO मार्केट, बट unfortunately, we've given ourselves another year. I think we should be ready by next year or next to next year.
Okay, and Aman, मैंने देखा आप जब jury meet में भी थे, so you put a lot of emphasis on scale. You made comments, and right comment, that we should select companies that have a certain scale. Not everyone has to have, but what is your obsession with scale, and how can founders in this room, who are both part of the 40 under 40 list, how can they scale up? What is your advice to them in terms of scale up?
सर जब हम चूज कर रहे थे तो स्केल वाज नॉट द ओनली क्राइटेरिया. आई थिंक it's all about the entrepreneur, but scale, why is scale important is obvious, right? If you are in a very small industry, आप कितना भी फोड़ लोगे, एक लेवल के बाद आप नहीं बढ़ पाओगे, right? जैसे अभी मैं आपको एक सिंपल बताता हूँ, एक कोई जैसे एक niches can become masses, that is for sure, but if the industry itself has a very lower TAM, how can you grow further, right? So I think it's at the end of the day, you have to do something which is probably, like, even if you look at any agency business, you look at more scale, right? If you look at a brand business, you can't look at without scale. If you look at the best company, if you look at even the Nifty or the Sensex companies, everybody looks at scale after a level, right? So it is unfortunately or fortunately you can't do anything without scale. So you have to have some scale, and it's not that शुरू से ही आप पहले ही आप मतलब एक level पे जाओ, तो obviously you'll grow.
Scale up कैसे करें? दो तीन ऐसे inputs की, if someone is at a say 100, how does one go to 500 in a short span? So because sometimes entrepreneurs prefer profitability over growth. How do you strike a balance between profitability and growth?
Sir, that's a good question, but frankly speaking, I don't think that today's market, like if I was earlier, everything was all about growth. But if you look at how we are going back to our drawing boards, and if you read the Economic Times article day before yesterday, it's not that the companies are being judged, as I said before, also judged on only the one multiple. It's both together. For companies, if I tell you about 100 to 500, I think the most difficult journey is 0 to 100, right? And if you are able to get there, then 100 to 500 is not as difficult as 0 to 100 is in at least in the D2C brand era. Even in the tech space, if you see, there is a tipping point which all these brands get through, and if you get into the tipping point, then you just keep growing. So every scale is tough, but getting your first consumers to buy you, for me, it's been the most important thing. क्योंकि क्या होता है ना कि पहले आपको कन्विंस करना, पहले कंज्यूमर्स को जो आपको खरीद ले और आपके बारे में रिव्यू लिख दे, वो बहुत टफ चीज है. क्योंकि अब क्या हो गया ना, अब तो इट्स ऑल अबाउट पीपल नो बोट, राइट? इतना बेच लिया कि अगर अच्छे प्रोडक्ट है तो अच्छा बिकेगा. लेकिन जो शुरू का 100 करोड़ थे ना, वो सबसे ज्यादा, आई थिंक इट वाज द टफेस्ट पार्ट for me. After that, it's been relatively easier, but the 0 to 100 scale has been the toughest.
Aman, everyone knows about your highs, about the scale of what you built, you being on Shark Tank, you being a poster boy for Indian entrepreneurship at a scale. People don't know about your lows. Not lows. People, like you told the story of how you went to Khan Market and how you sold your wares, how your wife helped. It may be a new story for some people in the audience. Tell us a bit about some of those things.
You guys have heard the Khan Market story, right?
किसने नहीं सुना?
सर, इनको मैं बाहर सुना दूंगा, 4 लोग हैं.
चलिए, कोई बात नहीं, 20 लोग थे, but कोई बात नहीं. What I'm saying is, it is, you got here, and it is a lot of hard work. It is betting on the right products. It's sourcing. It's marketing. You still write CMO. So you're very passionate about how you attract customers. You want profitable growth. But शुरू में बहुत स्ट्रगल होती है, तो एक दो ऐसी स्टोरीज बताओ जो स्ट्रगल वाली थी, उससे कैसे बाहर निकले आप?
सर, स्ट्रगल तो मैं बता रहा हूँ कि स्ट्रगल तो हमारे पास शुरू में तो अलग टाइप का था. अभी भी अलग स्ट्रगल चल रहा है, बट हाँ, शुरू के स्ट्रगल्स का आपको मैं बताता हूँ कि हम लोग जब इन्वेस्टर्स पे जाते थे तो हमारा एक बहुत अच्छा कॉम्पिटिटर, हमारे एक इंडस्ट्री में, एक टेलीकॉम इंडस्ट्री में एक बंदा होता था, माइक्रोमैक्स. सुना आपने नाम?
बिल्कुल.
तो हमारे को तो हर एक बंदा बोलता था कि तुम्हारी you guys are the next Micromax. When we started 5 years back, that was like our we were, you know, हमारे तो हाथ में लिखा हुआ था तुम्हारा बाप माइक्रोमैक्स है टाइप्स, राइट? तो यू नो वी वर बीइंग जज्ड इवन बिफोर वी वर बॉर्न, राइट? हम लोग आके अपनी स्टोरी बताते थे कि देखो हम ये करने वाले हैं, ऐसे ग्रोथ होगी, ये कंज्यूमर होंगे, और तो बट यू नो अनफॉर्चुनेटली द इन्वेस्टर्स हैड अ लॉट ऑफ baggage, preconceived notions, right? And you know there were not many investors also. If you look at the you know previously there were only a few investors, and D2C was, as I said earlier, was not even in there. So हमारा तो सर पैसों की बहुत प्रॉब्लम होती थी कि you know आप वेंचर डेट भी इतना इजीली नहीं मिलता था. ये जो आजकल आई है ना सारी की बिल डिस्काउंटिंग कंपनीज, ये भी नहीं होती थी उस टाइम पे, राइट? और बैंक्स बोलते थे कि आपको अपना घर गिरवी रखना पड़ेगा उसके लिए, पैसे उठाने के लिए. पर्सनल लोन 20 लाख के ऊपर मिलता नहीं था. तो हमारी फाइट ये होती थी कि हमें पैसे कहाँ से लाए, क्योंकि प्रॉफिटेबल कंपनी थी, ग्रोथ हो रही है, सॉलिड ब्रांड बन रहा है, लेकिन पैसों की फाइट होती थी, चैलेंज होता था. सो मैंने तो मतलब देयर माय फ्रेंड इज हियर प्रतीक, हम लोग तो मतलब जिसको मिल जाए हम मतलब जैसे होता है ना कटोरा लेके आगे खड़े हो जाते थे, यार भाई पैसे दे दे, तू दे दे, किसी इन्वेस्ट, कोई भी किसी को लगता था कि इसके पास ज्यादा पैसे, उसको बताते थे अपनी स्टोरी की भाई तू दे दे. तो हमारे को पैसों की बहुत फाइट होती थी सर. तो इवेंचुअली जैसे फैमिली हेल्प करती है, तो मेरे डैड ने दिए, मेरे समीर वाज अ रिच गाय, समीर के डैड से बहुत पैसे मिले. सो ऐसे हम लोग ढूंढ ढांड के कहीं ना कहीं करके हम लोगों ने अपने
औकात में रहते हो.
हाँ सर, वो बट मतलब अपना घर पे लगा, घर गिरवी रख के पैसे उठाना ना, वो टेंशन होती है.
माँ बाप.
हाँ, और वो वैसे भी मेरा नहीं है, मतलब इतने बहुत सारे लोग हैं उसमें. सो दादा का था. तो पैसे उठाने में फाइट हुई. एम्प्लॉइज रखने में बहुत स्ट्रेस होता था शुरू में, क्योंकि किसी को पता नहीं होता था कि यार यू नो इट्स लाइक अ फ्लाई बाय नाइट ऑपरेटर, और या फिर ये कंपनी चलेगी भी. तो आई रिमेंबर द फर्स्ट एम्प्लॉय वी हैड, हिज नेम वाज ईशान, राइट? एंड ही वाज वर्किंग विद अस, और उसने भी हमें छोड़ दिया था क्योंकि उसकी शादी नहीं हो रही थी, राइट? तो हमारे इंडियन फैमिलीज में होता है ना कि अच्छा ब्रांड होना चाहिए, उस टाइम पे था. सो ही वेंट टू मेक माई ट्रिप that time ki I'll go to a better brand because you know I'll get a better wife, probably a better family or something, right? I'll get married is what I would say. But you know तो हमारे को ऐसे भी लोगों ने छोड़ा हुआ था, तो हमारे को एम्प्लॉइज की भी फाइट होती थी. तो सारे काम मैं और समीर खुद ही करते थे. तो मुझे याद है कि जब हम लोग क्रोमा जाते तो हम स्पीकर लेके जाते थे और खुद स्पीकर चलाते थे यहाँ पे, और चला के ऐसे बैठ जाते थे, उसकी शक्ल देखते रहते थे. अब क्या होता है ना, जब किसी आप परचेज मैनेजर को देखो, उसको नहीं भी अच्छा लग रहा तो उसको भी शर्म आ जाती थी, उसकी आंखों में देख रहे सर कैसा लगा. तो वो भी कह देता था हाँ अच्छा है. तो वी यूज्ड टू डू डेमोज आवरसेल्व्स, वी यूज्ड टू fight for money wherever possible. Employees was a fight. Office also we didn't have, so we used to work out of a co-working space called Social. It was a cafe in Hoskas Village. So we had no office, so we worked out of Hoskas Village. एंड उसमें भी हमारे पास ये होता था कि 6 बजे ना उनका कोवर्किंग खत्म हो जाता था और बाहर शुरू हो जाता था, राइट? तो 6 बजे के बाद वो म्यूजिक बढ़ा देते थे, हम लोगों को बोलते थे तुम बाहर चले जाओ. तो स्ट्रगल्स तो हर एक की लाइफ में होते हैं, और यू नो मजा आता है वो स्ट्रगल्स के बारे में बात करके, क्योंकि यू नो इट जस्ट फील्स दैट यू नो we've crossed a lot of hurdles, but it's not that the hurdles haven't stopped here. There are a lot of hurdles we are still facing. So challenges keep changing, but they still remain.
I mean, your life looks good. You're in Shark Tank, you're in demand in the speaker circuit, you accompanied the Prime Minister on the visit to France. Company is looking good, there's investor interest, the brand is solid, you become the number 2 brand. What next for boAt in Aman Gupta?
बड़ा वो था भारी सवाल. अच्छा सर, टचवुड सब सही चल रहा है, बट हैज बीन काइंड. या टचवुड कर लेना यार सब, ठीक है, नजर ना ले. So touchwood, God has been kind, as I always say. ठीक चल रहा है, but you know सर, एक अंदर से ना एक वो है, क्या बोलते हैं ना, खुजली बोलते हैं जैसे, राइट? एक डिजायर है कि you know you want to keep growing, right? Touchwood, God has you know given me a lot of money. I don't need to work for life, but it's not about money for me. It was from day one. It was about happiness. एंड यू नो अब इसके बाद जैसे अब हमने 4000 करा है, अब हमने नया पड़ाव बनाया, इस साल 5000 करोड़ करेंगे. 10,000 करोड़ की कंपनी कैसे बनेंगे इन टर्म्स ऑफ रेवेन्यू?
Turnover is not valuation.
Yeah.
This is the sales.
Sales.
4,000 crores of sales.
Yeah.
That's $500 million of sales. Okay.
So next we want to do 10,000 crores in sales. In terms of people, we now employ, you know, earlier, as I said, we started with one, Sameer and I were 2. Now we employ 6,000 people. We have our own factory in India, and we want to reach to 20,000 people in India. In terms of IPO, as I said, our first investor was Kawaljeet Singh. He invested in us when we got 6 crores from him at a 100 crore valuation, and we already returned 100 crores to him from secondary, and he still owns 3%. We have Warburg Pincus. We have to deliver superlative results for them also. As a fiduciary duty, we have to do that. In terms of employees, all my employees, I feel, the top management, I keep telling them that, you work 4 years in boAt, you don't need to work for life. We want to ensure that we all grow together. In terms of customers, we've just reached, as I said, offline we've just started. We haven't penetrated offline at all. We just have 20% of the offline market still with us. We have to grow there. Wearables, this watches ka segment is just a new segment. Last year we entered into it. There are not many brands. There are just 2-3 of Indian brands there. That's a huge market growing. So there is so much room for growth left in boAt itself. Personally, sir, I like to keep myself busy because अब मेरे को ये तो है नहीं कि अब मैं कहीं जाके रिटायर हो जाऊँ, right? मुझे अच्छा लगता है अपना टाइम स्पेंड करना. And secondly, in Shark Tank, I think it's a as you said, it's a side hustle for me now. And I never had mentors all my life. Kaval was the first mentor we had 3 years back. So I feel that, if I can help these small young entrepreneurs somewhere, I feel happy about it, and that's what my joy comes. I don't do a lot of charity, and if I can give, my wife does a lot of charity. If I can give my time to these founders, I think that's a part of me giving back to the society.
Please give Aman Gupta a big round of applause and send him your blessings. We can take 1 or 2 questions. You have Aman here. Don't want to be between him and you. If you have a question for him, the lady there, get her a mic. Just keep your questions short, huh? We'll take 1 more question. So, any more hand? Yeah. Bhavik,
Hi,
sir.
Aman.
Hi.
I know your story, and it's very inspiring for entrepreneurs like me as well. Particularly someone like me who is working in the climate entrepreneurial space. I want to ask you this question: ki boAt is doing great, and Indians are proud of boAt. But going next, are you looking to integrate sustainability into boAt? Because as you said कि जब हम बाहर जाएं, आप चाहते हो कि boAt के स्टोर के बाहर लाइन लगी हो. But what youth and individuals like me want कि हम कह पाए कि हाँ यार हमारा boAt बना है, eco-friendly material से, sustainable material से.
Yeah, that's a very good question, ma'am. I'll tell you frankly, जैसे मैं आपको पहले बता रहा था ना कि market ना बहुत जल्दी change हो रही है, right? If you look at any market, if you look at, I'll give you, not just the boAt example, I'll give you a generic example. अगर आप शैम्पू मार्केट देखो तो पहले ना किसी को नहीं फर्क पड़ता था कि शैम्पू में केमिकल्स, पैराबेन और टॉक्सिन्स वगैरह है या नहीं है, और आज वीगन, ये सब किसी को फर्क नहीं पड़ता. लेकिन आज की डेट में आप सारे ब्रांड्स को देखो, दे आर ऑल सेल इट एज टॉक्सिक फ्री, वीगन फ्री, या नॉट वीगन फ्री, सॉरी, फ्री वीगन, केमिकल फ्री, पैराबेन फ्री, right? So I think it's the market which changes. If you look at 5 years back, 7 years back, people never cared. If you look at the generation which probably I belong, also was not as environment conscious as the new generation is, right? If I'll give you another small example. हम लोगों के यहाँ पे ना जब दिवाली होती थी ना तो लड़ियाँ लगती थी, लड़ी बोलते थे उसे, 1000 की लड़ी, 5000 की, तो वो ना लड़ी लगाते थे हम लोग, गोल गोल लड़ी होती थी, और वो 10,000 की लड़ी बहुत दूर तक चलती थी और पूरी कॉलोनी में आवाज आती थी, और किसी को पता होता था कि लड़ी हो रही है तो सब उसके आसपास होते थे, पटाखे बजाते थे. दिस वाज यूज्ड टू बी लाइक कि दिवाली यूज्ड टू बी. एंड इफ यू आस्क आई हैव my daughter, if you ask her today, she's like, how can you do this to our environment, right? It's so bad. They've been taught, they are brought up in a very different environment, right? So if I as a brand, like if I'll tell you about Make in India, last year, Make in India has been the toughest journey for us. It's not easy because China was a factory to the world. China पूरे world के लिए बना रहा है, उन्हें आता है बनाना, उन्हें efficiency level बहुत अच्छी है, हमसे अच्छी होती थी. लेकिन जब हमने start किया था, अगर आपको कोविड याद है, तो इंडिया में तो पीपी किट भी नहीं बनती थी, राइट? बट हमें बनाना तो है ही ना. तो हुआ क्या कि आपको पता है, कंज्यूमर्स भी मांगने लगे कि बॉस तुम ये बताओ कि तुम मेक इन इंडिया कब करोगे. हमारी जो जर्नी टुवर्ड्स मेक इन इंडिया, इट इज also responsible because of first the government, second also the consumers, because consumers started wanting. Now if consumers like you start asking these questions on sustainability, that what is boAt doing, and if I don't do what you guys are asking for, the new generation is asking for it, right? You may have asked this question as a question, but if you look at the new generation, they will not buy anything which is not sustainable. So if I don't change as a brand, I'll die. So there is no option but for brands like us. It's not that we are not doing our bit, we are. But if we have to move further, slowly we have to go for it before, otherwise I'll also be the next Micromax, which I don't want to be.
Bhavik, you want
Ouch.
to give Aman a big round of applause. Clapping is good for heart muscle. Bhavik wants to ask you a question.
सर किसी को नहीं मारनी ताली, आप उनको बेचारों को बोलते रहते हो कि give अमन, मारनी होगी मार देंगे ताली.
Okay, here's a fun one for you, Aman. हाँ, तो at 4,000 crore तो it's easy to say A for Apple, B for boAt. But तुम्हारे दिमाग में था क्या? boAt कैसे नाम रखा है? And would you brand it in 2023? Would you, if you were to start now, would you name this?
I wanted A for Apple, but it was not available, right? But it's a very easy word, yaar. Matlab, if you look at brands around us when we were starting, they were mostly all these Chinese brands. So if you pronounce them, they were like Huawei, Xiaomi, and all that. So it was easy, right? Sennheiser is also not an easy brand to pronounce. boAt was a very easy, boAt is like common noun, right? It's a normal word, right? Common word. तो और सेकेंड अगर आप देखोगे ना, ए के अंदर ना एक बोट बनी हुई है, इट्स लाइक अ सटल बोट इनसाइड, एंड जस्ट आई जस्ट फेल्ट इट कूल दैट इट्स द नेम इज कूल, बट इफ यू सी आवर टैगलाइन इज, इट वाज कॉल्ड प्लग इनटू निर्वाणा. So the reason behind that was also that if you go on a boat, if you go on a water, if you go on a cruise, you leave the land behind, right? You're in the water, you're enjoying yourself, you're plugged into your own zone. So same way, if you wear a boAt headphone, you plug into your own zone, you plug into a zone of happiness, you plug into nirvana. So that is how the connotation of boAt and plug into nirvana was there. And rest, some of these stories are true and some I've just built them up, right? So yeah.
The last question from the gentleman.
Good evening, Aman ji.
Hi.
I just want to ask you simply one question. I will be beneficial for all of us. सर, इतनी एनर्जी कहाँ से लाते हो? हॉल आपसे पहले भी था, अब भी है, और इतनी ज्यादा एनर्जी आ गई आपके बाद, आने के बाद, ये एनर्जी का राज क्या है?
Red Bull, sir. Red Bull.
सर बता
Now Red Bull without sugar, sir.
Good quality sleep.
Huh?
Talk to them about
Yeah, sir, I sleep a lot, sir. अगर आप मेरे से पूछो तो मैं 8 से 10 घंटे सोता हूँ सर दिन में, और I don't put alarm, sir. So मेरी सारी meetings lunch के बाद ही शुरू होती है, and I can go on till whatever time 11, 1, 2, 3 बजे तक काम कर सकता हूँ. But और क्या एनर्जी का राज है सर? मतलब सर मैं एनर्जी लोगों से भी ड्राइव करता हूँ थोड़ी सी. जैसे अगर आप देखो तो अगर क्राउड बोरिंग होता है तो मैं भी बोर हो जाता हूँ थोड़ा सा, राइट? अगर आप लोग एनर्जाइज नहीं होगे तो मैं भी एनर्जी नहीं होगा. तो मेरे को क्राउड के आसपास, मेरे ऑफिस के आसपास, अगर आप मेरी टीम भी देखोगे ना तो वो भी बहुत एनर्जेटिक टीम होती है. तो मेरे को लगता है कि उसी से मेरी एनर्जी आती है, और इट्स लाइक फ्री फ्लोइंग एनर्जी फ्रॉम बोथ साइड्स, apart from Red Bull and black coffee.
हेलो अमन जी.
Hi.
So since
सर आप तो गए थे 40 under 40 है, या तो सब 60 under 60 लग रहे हैं.
नहीं सर, उतनी भी नहीं है हमारी.
अच्छा, sorry.
Since we are going to see you today, तो I was just googling. तो of course revenue तो बड़ा है, तो थोड़ा सा बिजनेस के रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन है. तो रेवेन्यू तो नो डाउट बड़ा है, लेकिन एक्सपेंडिचर भी बड़ा है, और आई थिंक इम्प्रोपोर्शनेटली बड़ा है.
क्वेश्चन की है दसो.
हाँ जी,
क्वेश्चन की है
सर ये कि भाई थोड़ा फैक्ट तो बता दें किसकी रिगार्डिंग. तो उसमें ये है सर कि आपको क्या लगता है हम क्या चेंज कर सकते थे कि जो एक्सपेंडिचर इतना ज्यादा बढ़ गया है, प्रोबेबली हैव रिफ्लेक्टेड, तो इतना ना बढ़ता तो कुछ क्या कर सकते थे? व्हाट वुड हैव बीन डिफरेंट एंड व्हाट इज द रीजन फॉर दैट? दैट इज द ओनली थिंग.
No, that's a good question, sir. In hindsight, we all introspect. जैसे अभी भी हम लोग भी यही सोच रहे हैं कि जैसे क्या हुआ ना, हमने I would say that there was जब हमारे पास ना ज्यादा पैसे नहीं थे ना सर, तो हम बड़ी फ्रूगल कंपनी चलाते थे. तो हमारे पास जब इन्वेस्टमेंट आई ना, तो आई थिंक थोड़े से हम बिगड़ गए. सच बता रहा हूँ सर. I think we started doing much more than what we could chew, right? We started hiring more people than what we could handle. We changed a lot of things in the company, and that is where I think we could have made less expenditures, right? पहले हम लोग जब काम करते थे तो हम बहुत एक एक पैसे का सोचते थे कहाँ जा रहा है, लेकिन फिर जब कंपनी इतनी बड़ी हो गई हमने सोचा कि बस बड़ी कंपनी चलाने के लिए बड़ी चीजें ही करनी पड़ेंगी, और एंड कुकी कटर क्या बोलते हैं उसे, वन साइज फिट्स ऑल अप्रोच लगाने लगे कि अच्छा बड़ी कंपनी है तो इसमें अच्छा ऐसे करना चाहिए कि ऐसे टाइप की टीम होनी चाहिए, अच्छा बड़ी कंपनी है तो इसमें इतने खर्चे होने चाहिए आईटी सिस्टम्स में बड़े बड़े। पहले हमने टैली पे ही काम कर रहे थे, फिर हमने सोचा नहीं नहीं यार इतनी बड़ी कंपनी हो गई है, सैप तो लगाना पड़ेगा। फिर सैप लगाया तो सैप लगाने में लग गई हमारी, क्योंकि सैप इजी तो है नहीं, सैप के लिए इतने लोग रखो फिर उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करवाओ। फिर हमने बोला कि और हम नई कैटेगरी में घुसने लगे। हमने सोचा कि अब जैसे वेरिएबल कैटेगरी है, बड़ी गंदी कैटेगरी है सर, अगर हम आज खाली ऑडियो में होता ना मस्त हमारा धंधा हो रहा था और प्रॉफिट हो रहा होता। फिर हमने सोचा नई ग्रोथ करनी है तो नई कैटेगरी करते हैं, तो हम नई कैटेगरी में गए, वो थी घड़ियां, और घड़ियों में आग लगी हुई थी, ठीक है, मतलब हर कोई एक दूसरे को काटने में लगा हुआ है। कभी वही चीज 2000 की 1500 में बिक रही है, 1500 की 1400 में, 1400 की 1200 में। तो ये इंडस्ट्री भी थोड़ी ब्लड बाथ वाली हो रही थी, तो उस इंडस्ट्री में चले गए। फिर हमने मेक इन इंडिया बहुत कर दिया कि चल यार सारा मेक इन इंडिया बना था। मेक इन इंडिया बनाने में हमें ये तो अब क्या हुआ कि हमें आता भी नहीं था कैसे बनाते हैं, तो उसमें भी प्रॉब्लम हो रही थी कि फैक्ट्री को सिखाएं कैसे, फैक्ट्री में एफिशिएंसी कैसे लाए। हमारी जो अगर आप चाइना देखोगे तो वहां 90% एफिशिएंसी थी, हमारी इंडिया में 50% एफिशिएंसी खाली। हमें आता ही नहीं था किसी को, ऐसा था नहीं कि फैक्ट्रीज को भी आता है। तो हमने अपनी फैक्ट्री डाली अभी कि भाई हम अपनी फैक्ट्री बनाएंगे, अपना ही माल बनाएंगे। तो ये सब सर अगर आप देखो तो इतने खर्चे जो मतलब बढ़ते गए। अब हमने इस साल कंट्रोल कर रहे हैं, और इंशाल्लाह अच्छा इस साल अच्छा करना चाहिए।
And just if I may say, it's investing in the growth. In simple, you're investing in your future, right? So sometimes you over-invest now to reap the dividends in future. I'm sure Aman Gupta and boAt will reap the benefits in future. Please give Aman Gupta a big round of applause, and we'll go to our award. Thank you.